If Christmas hasn't felt the same in a long time, stay. The next 10 seconds might change that.
I woke up before anyone else that Christmas morning. The house was quiet in that specific way it only gets on December 25th, when the world outside feels still and the only sound is the hum of the refrigerator downstairs. I could see the glow from the tree lights reflecting off the hallway wall, pulsing red and green and gold. It felt nice, waking up to that. I'd been thinking about the Game Boy Color for a while. The teal one. I'd circled it in the Toys R Us catalog a few times and mentioned it once at dinner in November. I tried to sound casual about it, but I really wanted one. I stayed in bed for a few minutes, looking at the ceiling, listening. The suburban streets outside were completely still. No cars, no voices. Just the faint sound of wind through the bare branches. I could smell coffee starting to brew downstairs, which meant someone was awake. I sat up slowly and looked around my room. The carpet was soft under my feet, the kind with the dense, swirling pattern that every house in the neighborhood seemed to have. I walked to the door and stood there for a second. I thought about going downstairs to see if it was under the tree, but I waited a little longer, just standing there in the doorway, listening to the house wake up. Downstairs, the living room looked warm. The tree stood in the corner by the big window, covered in lights and those shiny glass ornaments that reflected everything in small golden shapes. The presents were stacked underneath, wrapped in bright paper with ribbons. The suburban street outside was empty and quiet. The light was soft, that early winter morning kind of light. You could see the frost on the grass, thin and white. Somewhere far away, I could hear a dog barking. I sat on the floor near the tree. The carpet felt thick and comfortable. I looked at the presents, trying to guess which one might be the Game Boy. There was one box, medium-sized, wrapped in shiny silver paper with a red bow. It seemed about the right size. I reached out and touched the corner of it lightly. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon rolls. I could hear someone moving around in there, the sound of plates being set on the counter. I looked over at the TV in the corner, the big tube TV with the wood paneling on the sides. It was off, but I could see the faint reflection of the tree lights on the black screen. Next to the TV was a bowl, still half full of cereal from yesterday morning. The box sat on the shelf nearby, one of those brightly colored boxes with a cartoon mascot on the front. I'd eaten that same cereal most mornings lately. The light through the window was getting a little brighter. It stretched across the floor, hitting the wrapping paper and making it shine. I sat there, feeling calm, watching the room slowly fill with morning light. Everyone came downstairs after a while. We did the usual Christmas morning routine, one present at a time, the way we always did. I got socks first, then a sweater, then a book I'd mentioned once. I smiled and said thank you, and I meant it, but I kept glancing back at that silver box with the red bow. When it was my turn again, I reached for it. The paper crinkled under my fingers. I could feel everyone watching. I tore the paper slowly at first, then a bit faster, and there it was. The box, teal and purple, with that glossy design that looked very 1998. Game Boy Color. I held it for a moment, feeling the weight of it in my hands. It felt good to see it there. The suburban street outside was still empty. I could see a neighbor's house across the way. their tree visible through their window, their lights blinking. The whole neighborhood seemed quiet that morning, like everyone was having their own version of this. I opened the box carefully, peeling back the cardboard flap. Inside was the device itself, wrapped in plastic, and beneath it, the manual, the warranty card, and a small pack of batteries. Alkaline, new ones. The plastic had that specific smell, that new electronic smell that's hard to describe. I lifted the Game Boy out and looked at it. The screen was blank, dark purple, waiting. The buttons were smooth. The directional pad clicked softly when I pressed it. I looked around the room and realized I was smiling. I put the batteries in right there on the living room floor. The back panel slid off easily, and I placed each battery in carefully, matching the little plus and minus symbols. I snapped the panel back on and heard the click. Then I reached for the game cartridge that had been tucked into the bottom of the box. Pokémon Yellow. The cartridge was partially transparent, a golden yellow plastic that caught the light. I slid it into the top of the Game Boy and heard another click. I turned it on. The screen lit up. Color. Actual color. Not the green tinted gray of the old Game Boy, but real color. The Nintendo logo appeared, clean and white, and then the Pokémon Yellow title screen. Pikachu bounced across the screen in bright yellow. The music started, that 8-bit melody I'd heard in commercials. I pressed start. The morning light was coming through the window now, bright and warm, filling the room. I could smell the cinnamon rolls in the kitchen, could hear someone talking softly, could feel the carpet under me and the Game Boy in my hands. Outside, the suburban street was starting to wake up. I could see a kid across the way standing in their driveway, holding something, probably their own new toy. I looked down at the screen and watched Pikachu follow me through Pallet Town. It felt good to play it for the first time. I spent the rest of that day on the couch, playing. I went through the first few hours of Pokémon Yellow, catching my starter, battling my rival, walking through Viridian Forest. The colors looked nice on the screen. Every time I looked up, the Christmas tree was still there, the wrapping paper still scattered on the floor. At some point, someone brought me a plate of food. I ate without thinking about it much, my eyes on the screen. I could hear the TV in the background, some Christmas movie playing, but I wasn't really watching. I was focused on the game, moving through tall grass and tiny towns. The suburban streets outside stayed quiet most of the day. A few cars passed slowly. The sun moved across the sky, and the light through the window changed from bright to softer and cooler. I kept playing, leveling up my Pikachu, exploring Route 1. When it got dark, I looked up and noticed hours had passed. The tree lights were the only glow in the room now, and everything felt quieter. I saved my game and turned off the Game Boy, running my thumb over the smooth plastic. I could still feel the shape of the buttons under my fingers. That night, I put it on my nightstand where I could see it. That morning is something I still think about sometimes. The anticipation before opening it, the unwrapping, the first time I turned it on and saw the screen light up. It felt simple and good, the kind of good that doesn't need much explanation. I remember the way the light came through the window and hit the carpet, the smell of cinnamon rolls and new plastic and batteries. I remember the suburban street outside, quiet and frosted, and how calm everything felt that morning. I remember the weight of the Game Boy in my hands, the click of the cartridge sliding in, the first notes of that 8-bit music. It was a gift I really liked. It kept me busy for months after that. I played it on car rides, in my room at night, on the couch after school. It became part of my routine, something I could always count on being there. Looking back now, it's just a quiet memory that stayed with me. Nothing dramatic or life-changing, just a nice Christmas morning in 1998. The kind of morning that felt warm and comfortable, where everything seemed to move slowly and nothing was rushed. That was Christmas, 1998. A morning I still remember when I think about that time.